in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Thursday morning, October 10th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. My name is Andy Hunthausen. To my left, Commissioner Tom Rolfe.
Good morning.
Tom's left, Brandi Spangler, who'll be taking care of us today. Thank you, Brandi. My right, Commissioner Candace Payne. Good morning. Deputy County Attorneys Nico Hash and Keegan Shea. Good morning, gentlemen. And Roger Baltz, our Chief Administrative Officer. Good morning, Roger.
Good morning.
There is a sign-in sheet in the front as well as agendas. Please sign in prior to leaving today so we have a good record of who's attended our public meeting. And we will kick it off with our consent action items. Mr. Baltz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This is item number 2 on the agenda today. It's public meeting minutes for September 26 and October 1, 2024. Staff recommends approval of that item. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Questions, Commissioners, about the consent action item? How about public comment on the consent action item? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent action item as presented by Roger Baltz.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moved and seconded to approve consent action item 2A as presented. Further discussion, Commissioners? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is revisions to the Lewis and Clark County investment policy. Good morning. That on?
Oh, I did hit it. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Frank Cornwell, CFO of the county. And today I am here to go over an investment policy update. The investment committee has reviewed the current investment policy and recommends minor edits. In addition, the committee suggests increasing the option to purchase agency and treasury notes from 20% to 30%. This adjustment will help protect the county's investments and preserve some of the interest rate income that the high interest rate that we've seen lately. Being able to get into these longer term notes should protect that income. So yeah, the proposed changes in the investment policy align with current market conditions. They will allow the county to adapt to potential changes in interest rates. The adjustments will contribute to the overall stability and performance of the county's investment portfolio. Staff recommends approval of these updates.
Thank you very much. I have a question if the other commissioners don't.
Go right ahead.
Well,
Oh,
I don't have anything about this in my packet.
should look like that. You want to look at mine?
Thank you.
Mr. Cornwell,
Mhm.
just a little bit, there's probably a lot of people watching today or might even be in the audience that don't fully understand what the county investment is. And we have an investment committee, makes these recommendations, brings them to the commission. But essentially those dollars that are collected by even some of the different jurisdictions are collected at tax time. We don't spend them all at once. They're spent for the next 6 months until the next tax infusion so that we can provide services. While those dollars are waiting to be spent, I guess, we invest them and try to earn some interest for the taxpayers so that we can get a bigger bang for our buck. Just kind of just a general explanation, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, whenever we collect money into the county's coffers that doesn't sit idle, we invest that immediately into short-term investment pool with the Board of Investments with state of Montana. And usually that's a really good rate of interest rate for us, as good as we can get usually. And it allows us to cash it out and get our cash within a day. So that's a short-term investment pool. There's a lot of advantages there. We can get it in within a day and pull it out within a day. So it's very, very effective to use that. However, in times where long-term investments have better interest rates potentially, and we want to protect that rate,
Right.
we will invest into other notes, for example, agency notes and treasury notes, to obtain a higher rate for a longer period of time. And it also protects our interest rate income. It just makes it so it's not as volatile.
Right. And the investment committee is made up of a pooled group, if you will. I think pool is one of the names that we have. It's a pool investment strategy. But the school district's dollars are invested. Certain districts dollars are invested while they're waiting to be allocated out to those districts. Is that correct?
All of the money is flowing through the county, including school districts, city, or anything that's sitting in county coffers is being invested.
Right.
And follows this policy, which is at the direction of the investment committee. We have experts on that committee. We have Jim Penner, who used to be part of the board of investments, who's very active, and he gives these really good recommendations on how to invest the pool. And our treasurer and I and others will take up his recommendations, whether or not to adjust.
And we even consult with an outside third party as well on some.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, we do
Okay.
with Stockman Bank.
Stockman Bank. Thank you. Any other questions, Commissioner, at this time? This is just one more time. It's a change in policy, allows us to one more time, just.
Yes, this is just a slight change in policy, moving from the overall investment pool amount, being able to invest 30% of its total amount into these longer term bonds. It just went from 20% to 30%. I used to be over at the Board of Investments. I say that's actually a pretty conservative amount. It leaves us plenty of money to operate. It leaves us all of the outside entities using us plenty of time to operate. It doesn't get in the way at all. And in fact, if we ended up having to sell them, we could sell them and get cash out any one of these bonds within a day anyways. It's not ideal because usually you'll take a small loss, but we don't see that as a risk at all. So moving from 20% to 30% is a relatively minor adjustment.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions? Please, Commissioner Payne.
I've now had an opportunity to look at, yes, I recognize it now. Thank you. I've already looked at it. So thanks for the presentation. It's not like I hadn't seen it before.
And just to add, I just saw the CPI for today went down from 2.5% to 2.4%. So we're below the 2.5%. Which heightens that feeling that most likely the Fed's going to continue to rate cut into the future. So as much as we can, we need to protect the higher rated investments while we have them.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other comments, questions at this time? Commissioner? No?
Yep.
Okay. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Hearing none, Commissioners, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the revisions to the Lewis and Clark County investment policy as explained by Mr. Cornwell.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the revision as presented. Further discussion.
Just a comment. I've been representing the commission on the investment committee this past year, and I believe we've been able to provide a little bit of extra income to help with the county budget. Really appreciate the very careful and conservative approach to investments that the committee makes. And great advice from people that have, like Frank and others who have got experience with long-term investments, like with the Board of Investment. And I really appreciate their advice and their counsel, and I am strongly in favor of this.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else? I echo those comments. Thank you to the investment committee and you, Mr. Cornwell, for the work. All right. With that, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Next item on the agenda is a contract between Lewis and Clark County and MadAve Communications LLC. Good morning. Is that on?
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Kellie McBride. I'm the Director of your Department of Criminal Justice Services. And before you today is a contract between Lewis and Clark County and MadAve Communications for marketing and communication services. At their July 2023 strategic planning meeting, the members of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, or CJCC, selected improved communications with the public as one of their top 3 priorities. Additionally, the CJCC's Citizens Advisory Committee, or CAC, selected communications as one of their top priorities, and they formed a communications work group. I'm going to go off script for a second and just kind of point out why we would want to communicate with the public. The work that we do is supported by a voter approved levy that was approved in 2017 for ensuring that the county concentrate on diversion practices, pretrial services, addressing behavioral health needs in our detention center, really that holistic piece in the criminal justice system. The work that we're doing over the last 7 years is, it's amazing. We have a pretrial services program that serves about 400 people at any given time. The statistics on that are great. The folks in the pretrial services program, so if they weren't on pretrial services, they would be waiting in our detention center for their trial. That can take up to 9 months or longer. So instead of being in the detention center, they're in the community, they're in their homes, they're working their jobs, they're taking care of their families, they're paying their taxes while they wait for that trial. When they're assigned to pretrial services, they work with a pretrial officer. And our success rate is we've got about 91, last quarter, 91% of individuals in the pretrial services program made it to all their court dates. That's a great number. 95% remained arrest-free. Again, those are great numbers. When we look nationally, that's about 70%. So those folks who are engaged in pretrial services are really succeeding as we want them to. And again, they're staying employed, they're staying housed, and they're doing well throughout that pretrial period. We're working on diversion programs. We have in the detention center, we have a behavioral health therapist. We have a licensed addiction counselor, a case manager, and also an education and transition coordinator who are working collaboratively with those folks who are in the detention center that need those extra services. So the list goes on and on. I want to ensure, and we all want to ensure, that the community knows the good work that's being done. And we recognize that we could use some expert help in communicating. The Citizens Advisory Committee Communications Work Group requested a proposal from MadAve Communications, LLC, for professional marketing services. The work group members and the Criminal Justice Services staff met with MadAve Communications founder and director, Ali Mandel, to review the proposal. With CAC approval, the professional services contract before you was written and engages the services of MadAve Communications to create and implement a communications plan, public relations, copywriting, content creation, communication strategy, graphic design, and social media, with a goal to increase public awareness of the voter-mandated programs and work developed and implemented by the Department of Criminal Justice Services under the direction of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council and the Citizens Advisory Committee. The county budgeted for these professional services for the fiscal year 25. The total funds awarded in this contract are $6,000, and the period of performance is October 10th, 2024 through April 30th, 2025. Staff does recommend approval, and I have Ali Mandel here, and I'll let her, is it okay if she shares, or do you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Allie, if you introduce yourself for the record. Thank you.
Yes, good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Ali Mandel, founder and director of MadAve Communications. I'm a 20-plus year professional in this field. I have a background in broadcast journalism and minor in communications. I've worked in marketing, advertising, public relations for the majority of my career, both on an agency side as well as corporate side. has served on a variety of community committees in this in Helena area, and have worked with Kellie in the past, and just really excited to do the good work of communicating what it is happening with the criminal justice services and their pretrial service work. So nice to meet you all.
Thank you very much, Allie. Commissioners, how about questions for Kellie or Allie, I guess, in this case?
If I might,
Commissioner, please.
I just think this is a great opportunity to maybe explain a little bit more about what criminal justice services does, so that the public can kind of understand how we are working with, and many times first-time offenders or folks who aren't considered a serious threat to the community, and keeping them out of that jail environment and helping them in their to move in the right direction. Could you maybe share a few of the statistics and more, and what the goal is here, and the fact that we've got several of our judges that are very supportive of this whole effort?
Yes, so we do have, we work closely with our Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. We work with all of the stakeholders in the criminal justice system. We work with our judges, we work with our county attorney, city attorney, public defenders. We work across the board. And the goal is really that holistic approach. So we have several programs. I think one you might be asking about is the pretrial services program. That was our first program launched. We launched that in May of 2018 with the help of the State Office of Court Administrator. We were one of 5 counties selected to pilot the public safety assessment. That's a nationally validated tool that tells the judges what the likelihood is that this individual before them is going to make it to all of their court dates, and what is the chance that they might be arrested on a new charge while waiting for their trial. So while waiting pre-trial. So it's a tool. It gives them a number and a suggested supervision level for the defendant. It no way mandates what they choose to do, but it helps with that PSA and with our officers. Again, that first appearance, the judges are assigning folks to the pretrial services program, and really it's a myriad of charges. It's not only misdemeanor charges, but it's also felony charges. And again, the folks that are assigned to the program are doing incredibly well when you look at national statistics. They're making it to their court dates, and they are not being arrested on a new charge. Beyond that, what our pretrial officers are able to do to further help the defendant that they're working with, and to help the community as well, is ensure that those defendants are connected with any services they might need. So if there's a substance misuse disorder, they're connecting those individuals with treatment providers in the community. They're working with housing providers to make sure those folks get housing if they're unsheltered. They are working with Helena Food Share, with just making sure that the individuals are connected with the services in this community, because we've got great services in this community. So making sure that and with Helena Job Service, and helping so folks who don't have a job are getting those, working on their resume skills and getting employed, maintaining those jobs. So we're able to really work closely, not just for those 2 success markers, making it to court and not being arrested on a new charge, but bettering themselves too, which helps our whole community. That's pretrial services. I would say one of the other programs, the PASS program, is just for individuals who have misdemeanor charges. It's called Post Adjudication Supervision Services, and that's run through Judge Peterson's court. However, our justice courts are also interested in participating. So an individual who is found guilty of their misdemeanor charge, if that individual is struggling with mental health disorders, substance misuse disorders, or both, rather than giving them the fine of $700 and recognizing that they're not going to be able to pay it. And then it's going to go to warrant, and then they're going to be back in our jail. And again, our jail, it's about $125, $126 a day to be in our jail. So rather than having people cycling through that, what Judge Peterson said is, for every hour you spend in treatment, I'll give you $10 off of your fine. So we have individuals who are engaged in their treatment as a way of working off their fine. It helps the individual, it helps the community, and those folks it's not going to warrant, so they're not going back into the jail. So it helps the county as a whole on that cost savings piece. Those are just two of our programs that I can share. In the detention center, that staff, they meet with those who are in the detention center who are struggling with mental health, with substance misuse disorders. I will say in the month of September, our licensed addiction counselor was able to do a treatment plan for 4 individuals. Those treatment plans, working with our case manager, resulted in those 4 individuals, those 4 defendants, being furloughed to treatment. So out of the detention center and into a treatment facility. That's huge. Really working to make sure that we're getting people the care that they need. We have a MAT Bridges program, as you're aware, Chair, Commissioners. That is medication-assisted treatment for opioid misuse disorders. And we work collaboratively with the detention center and with our community on ensuring folks who are entering the detention center with an opioid misuse disorder are evaluated and can receive that medication to start their treatment while they're in the detention center. And we work with our partners to ensure that they continue that treatment when they are released. I have so much more, but I do.
Thank you.
One of the, and if I might follow up,
Please.
one of the
Yeah.
things that I think that the public might want to know, that these sorts of things aren't necessarily offered to violent offenders. These are folks and most likely to be first-time offenders for addiction related problems and mental health problems. And so the violent offenders are kept in jail. They aren't offered these options, but people who are maybe new to the criminal justice system are the ones that we're concentrating on.
So with pretrial services, I'll go back to that since that's our, the first program. We're looking at individuals who have charges. However, it is up to the judge to look at those charges and determine the community safety piece. So the judge can determine that this individual's charges would necessitate them to be in our detention center for the 9 to 10 months before their court date. Or the judge can determine that they would do really well in the pretrial services program. So there's no delineation in whether it's a felony charge or a misdemeanor charge. It's how well will that individual do in the program and in the community. And we have shown over the last 7 years that we work across charges. We're looking at working with folks who have been charged. Again, we don't call them offenders because they haven't been to court, they haven't had their trial yet. So we're working with those defendants who are waiting for their trial, and what those charges are what the charges are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
I'll just add to that, Kelly. I think there's a PSA down at the beginning, which is a
Public safety
public
assessment.
safety assessment, and this public safety assessment is done for every person that's entering the system, and it is a instrument that has been well vetted. It's used across the country. It's been adopted by the state of Montana in this case, and they're the ones that essentially read the PSA after it's done and make a recommendation for risk level, and then the judge gets that PSA when they see this person, and ultimately it's up to the judge, but it gives them some information about the risk level. So whether it's their first offense or 10th offense, I'm just making that up, but if their risk level to the community is at a place that the judge feels comfortable putting them on pretrial services versus detaining them, then they can make that decision based on that risk assessment. So yes, a very violent offender that is, the risk assessment says are likely to reoffend. If they are released, then they probably will be kept for public safety in the detention. But someone who's had some history at one thing, maybe this new offense is totally something else, and they've been doing generally well, that risk assessment might say, yes, they might do fine on pretrial services. So the judge may choose to release them to pretrial services. Is that correct?
That is correct. So the public safety assessment, or PSA, it is strictly in numbers, doesn't take into account personality. What it does is it looks at the current charges. There is a violence flag that is taken into account. So if the charges include a violent, there's violent charges, violent offense, it kicks the score up, for lack of a better way of putting it. That what's looked at is the age of the defendant, how many convictions that defendant has had in the past, what was their age at first conviction, if there has been convictions. So it's really, have they ever failed to appear in court? So it's looking at all of those very specific items and then scoring the individual. And it's everywhere from a 1-1 to a 6-6. And a 6-6, that's, that person's probably not going to do really well out in the community. And then that's for the judge, but again, for the judge to decide on all the scores. The judges know best, that's their profession, and they know what the charges are. They know who the person is in front of them, and they have that PSA to help them. So it's a tool.
And in many cases, they may have input from the attorneys as well.
Yes, and we're moving towards meaningful first appearances, so that's exciting in our community. What a meaningful first appearance is the ability for public defenders to meet with the defendants before court. Judge Peterson is in our Helena Municipal Court, is moving her first appearances from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. to ensure that the public defender's office has time to meet with the defendants that will be appearing in her court. Public defenders will present their side, and the city attorneys will present their side. And so giving a little bit more breadth to the individual and to the charges in front of the judge. Our justice court, we are currently looking at moving that way. We want to see how it works in municipal court, but we do know that meaningful first appearances are a big piece in the criminal justice system.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner Payne.
I have a question for our contractee.
You bet.
Contractor. So this is a new plan. And first of all, has this been done elsewhere and proved successful? And have you done this sort of thing before?
I'll let Kellie speak to the particularness of the group and how successful a communications plan of this has been. But I have done a variety of communications, marketing, business development plans in the past for a variety of industries. So healthcare, finance. I was in banking for about 20 years. And so I've done a variety of these programs, and I've, again, with a lot of the public service that I've done serving on committees of a similar nature in the Helena community. So I just think this is such a complex problem, as you can tell, or it's a complex program. And so there's a lot of nuances and facets that we have to communicate in our community. And I think storytelling is going to be a big part of that, but everything is always guided by a plan. It's got to be really thought out, very strategic, especially since we're starting off with a 6-month contract just to see how well it goes for both of us. And so yes, there's a lot of proven history behind the work that I've done with communications plans.
How will you know if this is successful?
Yeah.
I mean, are there like levels of, oh, we got 100,000 phone calls in saying, wow, this is great. Or on the other hand, what in the heck are these people doing? So how do we know if it's working?
That is an excellent question. Kelly and I, when we first met, we did talk a lot about what is our return on investment statistics going to look like, and we're going to have to come up with agreed upon statistics. Basically, like, is that visits to the actual landing page of the website? And so we're going to be doing some work behind the scenes to look at the analytics and see what, the visits to that site has looked like in the past. There's also going to be an emphasis on doing a lot more with social media. And so we'll be creating some statistics around impressions, views, people interacting with where we're trying to guide them to learn more about the program. So there's ways that we can put in some measurable goals that are agreed upon to begin with. And we'll be looking at those consistently and probably reporting back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much. Okay. All right. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? Public comment. All right, commissioners, hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the contract between Lewis and Clark County and MadAve Communications LLC as presented by Kellie, Goodwin, McBride.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Moved and seconded to approve the contract as presented. Further discussion.
And
Please.
just a thought, if I might, Mr. Chairman, several years ago, before I got into this position, my wife and I were part of a group that worked to promote the idea of expanding our capacity at our jail. And part of the promise was that we were going to look at programs like this to help keep people out of the jail who really didn't need to be there and would do better outside the jail. And I think that we're doing the right sort of a thing. We're fulfilling the promise made to the taxpayers when we asked them to fund the detention center expansion, and hopefully we're keeping from having to build an even larger facility for a longer time. So again, because this is part of the promise we made when we were asking folks to vote for the jail levy. I support what's being done here, and I think it's important to communicate to the people of the county what's being done and how successful it is.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Payne, anything else?
No.
Okay, I do. And I thank you, because along the same lines as Commissioner Rolfe, this, not to put pressure on you, Allie, but it's time, and we need to be able to tell our story, and we need to be able to justify what we're doing, and we also need to understand the community's perception of what we're doing. So as Commissioner Rolfe mentioned, we asked the citizens to remodel our detention center and just expand it. We added 30 plus detention officers to be able to staff that facility. And then we added essentially, we did add an entire new department, the Criminal Justice Services Department, and there's 12 staff in that department. And the goals were essentially, I'm simplifying it, but to really divert people from the system. Only detain those people who are a risk to the community or a risk of flight. The rest, try to have alternatives for serving them and making sure they still show up for court and are held accountable for their behavior in the community, but doing it in an alternative way. And in addition to that, we really had goals of trying to reduce the number of people living with mental illness or behavioral health issues from the detention center. And you just described 4 that have been identified and moved to treatment versus sitting in jail. And those are really important. And that if those are the reasons why they're in jail, addiction or some mental health issue, we should be serving them in another way. And so trying to do that and ultimately showing this return on investment. So the taxpayers have made a huge investment in remodeling this detention center, expanding the beds, 156, I believe, is the max. And then saying we're going to bring services in, reform our system. We're going to have folks evaluated for behavioral health issues, both substance use and abuse, as well as other behavioral health issues, and try to get them treatment. And then the education part and the case management part, and I'm simplifying again, but trying to make it so everybody leaves with a plan. Nearly everyone, 97% of the people that come to our detention center are coming back to the community. They're not going on to bigger and better things. I think that was the statistic that was given to us. So there's some that go on to the state prison or other things, but even those folks, most of them are coming back to our community at some point. And so if we don't try to change the things that cause them to go there in the first place, whether that's behavioral health issues, addiction issues, and set them up for success. This week, we're housing is healthcare summits going on over at St. Peter's Hospital right now, and housing, transportation, all of those issues. So our case management folks trying to help people leave with a plan. How are you going to take care of yourself? How are you going to not come back here? We don't want you to come back to the detention center. So how do we stop that revolving door, looking at those families with little kids, and we see same names coming through the facility. So it might be family names, generational kinds of engagement with the system, and really trying to avoid that. So we've asked the taxpayers for this investment. We're about halfway through because it was a 15-year deal. And at 15 years, we have to go back to the taxpayers and say, do you want to continue this investment? If not, I don't know what we're going to do, because we're relying on that for the expanded detention beds and the programs that we've started. So we have to justify our existence, Allie. That's and Kellie. So there's the pressure. But we really need to be able to tell our story, and not only tell our story, we need to be able to do it with data. And we finally are at that point where we are able to, our systems are going to be able to talk to each other, jail to the attorneys to the criminal justice services or whatever else, other systems, and we'll be able to understand what we're really doing there and how successful we're being. When someone comes in, we can track them through the system and what happened with them, and are they coming back or not coming back? And then what is the community's impression of our work that we're doing? Have we told our story very well? And do they understand what we're doing? And then what do they think about what we're doing? We haven't done that yet. So this is the beginning of that adventure, and we really need to do that, because in just a very few short years, we're going to be engaging our community to say, can we keep going? Can we continue these services? And hopefully the answer is yes, and we've made some good success. So I'm hopeful. I am in support of moving forward with this, and ready to go. Anything else, commissioners? Please, Commissioner Payne.
Or to put it in more simple fashion, if you always do what you've always done, why should you expect anything to change? And that's what's going on with this grand experiment of trying to keep people out of the jail, and so that we don't just continue pushing them down the road farther, building more and more detention facilities. And let's hope this works. I expect it to, Kellie.
Thank you. All right. We have a motion and second on the table. Commissioners, any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much. Best of luck. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is the grant application of the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Drenda Niemann. I'm the Health Officer with Lewis and Clark Public Health. This morning, I have before you a grant application. The purpose of the opioid education and naloxone distribution program is to address the overdose crisis by providing resources to our community, to community members, and then agency partners to increase access to FDA-approved medications for the treatment of opioid use disorder, and for supporting the continuum of prevention, harm reduction, treatment, and recovery support services for opioid use disorder and other concurrent substance use disorders. We are currently serving as our 12-county hub, providing support to our surrounding counties to implement opioid prevention activities, including distribution of fentanyl test strips and naloxone. And we also host monthly collaboration calls to learn together and support each other's work. This grant will allow us to continue these efforts and also expand to offer follow-up support and resources to participants, including referrals to treatment programs, support groups, and peer support outreach. The grant application is due October 17th, 2024, and we will be requesting the full $100,000 per year for the 3-year grant period. Staff recommends approval, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Payne.
Drenda, I just wanted to clarify that this is $100,000 per year. It's not to be divided over 3 years. Is that correct?
Correct, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Payne, that is correct. It's a $100,000 per year for 3 years of the grant period.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Any other questions? No. Great. Thank you very much. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment on this grant application? All right, commissioners, is there a motion to approve this grant application to Department of Health and Human Services?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the grant application to the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services as explained by Ms. Niemann.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the grant application as presented. Further discussion? Drenda, thank you. Appreciate it. As you said, we're going to be working with our hub counties, and we are one of those larger counties that really has the resources to do this. And these grant dollars allow us to then work with these other counties that have less of those assets. And so I really appreciate that. And the collaboration is very positive. And obviously the goals of the grant, trying to reduce our opioid dependence in those areas and misuse, the education and distribution of the Naloxone and others, it's great. So I'm in full support. Commissioners, anything else? Please.
Just as a comment, it seems to me that this work then supports the work that the previous presentation was about. I mean, we're trying to keep people from doing the same thing and ending up in prison. So, yeah, let's do it.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, anything further? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, commissioners. All right, you're up again. The next item is a grant task order to the Lewis and Clark County from the Montana Department of Health, Public Health and Human Services, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Again, Drenda Niemann with Lewis and Clark Public Health. I have before you a grant award. This is a grant award that provides funding to support our maternal child health programs. For example, home visitors educate families on safe sleep practices. They help to access public health nurses for early childhood vaccination review and administration. They provide breastfeeding support and referrals to other services in the community. Excuse me. Additionally, we lead our fetal infant child mortality review, which is required by law. And we do this in collaboration with Broadwater and Jefferson counties. It's a 3-county effort. These reviews provide opportunity for a diverse team of experts to look at the details of a fetal, infant, or child death in our county and determine preventability and make prevention recommendations that will help prevent a similar death from happening in the future. The grant begins October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025 in the amount of $62,586. It comes with a required 75% cash match, which equals $46,940. This is an annual renewal and is included in our fiscal year 25 budget. Staff recommends approval, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you for all those details. Questions, commissioners? Just a comment for those that might be wondering why we're doing this. So all of the money that comes or goes or is expected to come or go from the county needs to go through a public process, and this is part of that. These are funding that kind of on a regular basis keeps coming down from the state, and we continue under our large contract with them. These task orders or grant opportunities come forward to continue the work we're doing or to add to the work that we're doing in public health. And much of the funding that public health relies on comes down through task orders from the State Department of Public Health and Human Services. So just for explanation purposes, and I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, or did I sum it
Mr.
up
Chair,
well enough?
Yeah, that great explanation. This is a reoccurring block grant that we do receive directly from the state. The original funds do come from HRSA,
Federal.
federal money. So I'm going to write it down so I don't mess it up. It's the Health Resource and Services Administration. Federal, these are federal dollars that come through the State Department of Public Health, and then they flow down to the local level to do the work. So
Thank you for that explanation. Any other questions for Niemann? Okay, how about public comment on this grant award? Any public comment? Any public comment? All right, commissioners, hearing no public comment, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the grant task order HH-ECFS -00000594 to Lewis and Clark County from the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services as explained by Drenda Niemann.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Moved and seconded to approve the grant task order award as presented. Further discussion, commissioners? All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Brenda, thank you for being here. Now we have opportunity for our guests. I bet there's some interest here today. It is that time in our meeting where we will take public comment on any item that is under the jurisdiction of the commission, but not on today's agenda. So those that would like to provide public comment, please come forward and just give us your name and where you live, and you will have the floor. We're all ears. Mostly ears. Welcome. Yeah, make sure the green light's on there, please.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Trustee Jim Thomas and I, Canyon Creek, Rural Fire District.
If you'd give your name as
personal-
well.
Personal address or just name?
Well, name and Canyon Creek is
Okay.
great.
Wendy Smith Adamson. Canyon Creek.
All right. You have the floor.
Good morning, Commissioners. Trustee Jim Thomas and I, Wendy Smith Adamson, both of us appointed to the role of trustee by this commission in March of this year, stand here representing electors of the Canyon Creek Rural Fire District. While our recent troubled events have become more publicized, the law-abiding electors are pursuing all avenues to express their displeasure with the CCRFD board and decisions that many find disconcerting and potentially very harmful for public safety in our fire district. In that pursuit, more than 5% of CCRFD electors want to submit redress petitions as allowed under MCA 7-1-206. It is our understanding that there is not any precedent to follow filing redress petitions and would like to do so properly. So to accomplish this, we are happy to submit during this portion of the meeting, or if not the appropriate moment, Jim Thomas and I will stay after the conclusion of this public meeting for guidance. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comment. We're public comment time for now. Appreciate it. Yeah, if it's not an item on the agenda, just generally how it works is it's not a back and forth. We'll take public comment and consider that public comment, and then we'll follow up as appropriate. So thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Anything you'd like to add, Mr. Thomas? Welcome.
Thank you. Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Jim Thomas, as stated. And I'm sure we look familiar since we were just here back in March. Last night, I was informed that our former chief had resigned, Jonathan Cunningham, and also that our chief medical officer, Crystal Cunningham, had also resigned. I have their resignation letters here. I also have a letter here from former Chief Cunningham that is directed to Lewis and Clark County Commissioners. If it's appropriate, I'd like to read it into the record.
You're welcome. You're welcome to make it part of your comment.
Thank you. Respected county, I apologize in advance for the Alabama slang. Forgive me. Respected county commissioners, I am writing to formally announce my resignation from the Canyon Creek Rural Fire District effective at 2000 on October 9th, 2024. It is with a heavy heart that I take this step, as I have dedicated a significant part of my life to serving this community and have been a proud member of the Canyon Creek Fire Department since 2018. However, I can no longer remain in a position where I feel disrespected and marginalized by the current Board of Trustees and their questionable decisions. Since I took on the role of fire chief, I committed myself to the safety and well-being of our community while fostering an environment of teamwork and trust within our department. Unfortunately, since the new board took over in June, I have experienced a drastic shift in my treatment and overall morale. I have felt consistently belittled and undermined in my efforts to lead, which has led to a professional atmosphere that is not only discouraging, but also detrimental to the effectiveness of our fire department. Despite the mistreatment, I chose to remain with the department through this turmoil, motivated by my deep commitment to our community and the people I have served alongside. Many of my colleagues advised me to step away or to seek out a department that better recognized my worth and contributions. Yet loyal to my duties and the relationship I built, I chose to stand my ground. However, the recent appointment of an individual I consider unqualified to perform the essential duties of a fire chief, someone who has effectively exiled me from the very department I helped guide, has shattered my willingness to continue in this role. A leader who breeds distrust and has proven to be a danger when lives are on the line cannot command the respect and confidence required for this position. As I move forward, I urge you to listen carefully to the articles of redress brought forth, as I fear they may otherwise fall on deaf ears. I implore you to take these concerns seriously and to work towards a more respectful and supportive environment for those who choose to dedicate themselves to public service. I sincerely hope that future leadership within the department can foster collaboration and establish a culture that honors the invaluable contributions of its members. Thank you for considering my perspective and for your attention to this pressing matter. Respectfully, Jonathan Cunningham.
Thank you.
I would like to, and again, Wendy mentioned this is unprecedented. I understand this has never been done before as far as the articles of redress. So any direction we can receive from anybody in county government would be deeply appreciated. If this can be used as supporting documents for the articles of redress, I'd like to offer that also.
Thank you. If there are documents you'd like to leave with us, you can leave them with Brandi over here and we'll all get a copy of that.
Thank you. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. We may, but we'll take it as public comment for now, and we'll see if there's further public comment.
Okay, thank you.
And any other public comment, please come forward, just state your name and where you live, and we'll hear you out. Welcome.
Thank you. I am John Keller. I live in Canyon Creek, and I'm a little nervous. This is only the second time I've been in front of the commission, and I've got to address you, Mr. Chair and commissioners. The first time I was here several months ago, you soundly rejected me from being a trustee, and I hope I can improve my record here today. And since that joke fell flat, I'm in big trouble. To be very clear, I'm addressing the board as a private citizen and not as the lieutenant of the Canyon Creek Rural Fire District. Last night, wow. Best I can.
It's okay. Take your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I need to shift from tears to anger right now. Last night, my life was further endangered with the resignation from the Canyon Creek Rural Fire District of former Chief John Cunningham and Captain Crystal Cunningham. These two individuals have more practical field EMS experience than all of the EMS people on the Canyon Creek Rural Fire District. More EMS experience by a wide margin. But it wasn't only my life that has been endangered. It's the lives of all the residents in Canyon Creek Rural Fire District. And it isn't only the lives of the residents in the Canyon Creek Rural Fire District that have been endangered. It's the lives of all the residents in our automatic response districts of Marysville and Birdseye. And it wasn't only the lives of all the residents of Birdseye and Marysville that have been endangered. It's the lives of any hunter, any hiker, any cyclist, any tourist, any visiting family member, and dare I say, any Lewis and Clark commissioner who happens to come into our districts. Thousands of people's lives under your jurisdiction just got worse last night. The standard of care has been decimated with the resignation of these two exemplary individuals. Former Chief John Cunningham dedicated himself to being first on scene as quickly as possible to ensure that he can intervene as necessary, potentially saving lives. The running joke in Birdseye is that Birdseye has a 12-minute response time thanks to former Chief John Cunningham. I am greatly disappointed that John and Crystal Cunningham resigned of their own accord. In spite of beseeching them to remain for the good of the community, the relentless vilification from Trustee Richard Grady, Trustee Max Eskelson, Trustee Ellen Eskelson, and Interim Probationary Chief Jeremy Gilliam proved to be too much. Does this sound familiar? Recall that this spring, 3 dedicated trustees and our fire chief also resigned, in large part due to the withering onslaught of Trustee Richard Grady and then firefighter Max Eskelson. My prediction is that by Halloween, just 2 weeks away, the Grady 3 and interim probationary fire chief Jeremy Gilliam will complete the purging of the remaining 5 firefighters on the Canyon Creek Rural Fire District Volunteer District. This will leave Canyon Creek Fire District with a 100% probationary fire company with no recent experience with the brush trucks used to fight wildland fires, no recent experience with our 2 fire engines used for structure fires, no recent experience with the water tender, no recent experience with PPE, including self-contained breathing apparatuses, no recent firefighter wildland training, and no recent field EMS experience. 1 week before the general election, the Canyon Creek Fire District may be just a bunch of probies unfamiliar with their equipment. How can they safely respond to any fire or EMS in any of our districts? This will shift the burden of response to Birdseye and Marysville. We voters made a mistake, electing individuals clearly ill-suited for the job of trustee. But now, not only is Canyon Creek Rural Fire District suffering, Birdseye and Marysville are suffering too. Birdseye and Marysville did not have any say in the election of the Canyon Creek Rural Fire District trustees, but the commissioners have a say for Birdseye and Marysville. Our district elected these individuals, so it is indeed the citizens' task to correct the mistake that we made. Work is underway. The wheels of justice grind slowly. But we also elected you to look out for the safety of our districts. I ask the commissioners, for the sake of the safety of thousands of voters and families in the Birdseye, Canyon Creek, and Marysville fire districts, use whatever powers granted to you by the people of our districts to immediately intervene. Lives are on the line. Standing on the sidelines is no longer an option. Lives are on the line. Standing on the sidelines is no longer an option. I thank the commissions for your consideration of this matter. As always, I wish the best for you and your loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. And if you'd like to leave your comments, you're welcome to leave them with Brandi or, oh, well, or you can email them to us if you'd like. Yep. Further public comment. Further public comment. Good morning.
My name is Constance Horder. I live in Canyon Creek. I did not intend to speak today. I came in support of our fire district and the people that have been working to try and keep it in order for 30 years, actually since 1959. But after what you just heard, I think it's important that you guys recognize that the community has been trying very, very hard to resolve this problem. It's not just a little spat between people in the community. The actual, and I wouldn't normally say this, the actual person that has caused this problem for 25 years, and I ended up having to replace as fire chief because he was causing such a problem 25 years ago, is Richard Grady. When we have elections, we try not to badmouth someone who's running. We try to be positive about someone we support instead. And over the years, that used to work, but anymore, it hasn't. And we have Richard Grady on the board and now as chairman, because he has a husband and wife group that are making his majority of the quorum. So it's him and a husband and wife, which seems not illegal, but inappropriate. Because they always vote exactly the same, the husband and wife, they always vote exactly the same as Rick Grady and as each other. So there's definitely a visible conflict there. But my point for standing up is that I don't think most people, and maybe even including myself, have recognized how this is catapulted to this point right now, where Jonathan Cunningham, who was doing an excellent job as chief and had the complaints for removing him were almost zero. There was a few little things. But the people who wanted to remove him because they wanted Jeremy as chief would be Richard Grady. And this is, I think, goes back all those years when he made such a mess, and then the sheriff's department knows about it. Fire chiefs throughout the county know about it. They can all are willing to bring information that would help back this up. But the point being, I think this has gone on a really long time and it has to stop, because right now we have Jeremy Gilliam as an interim fire chief who is completely and totally inappropriate and unqualified for the job. He has a long list of things that he can point to, but he has been on the department. He has been not allowed on other departments. He's tried to go to other departments in the community and they don't want him in the county. And he's done things that I can explain, but you probably don't need to hear all right now, but that were extremely dangerous and people don't know about him. Anyway, my point is, he is the most inappropriate person we could possibly have as fire chief. And he has, if I understand it correctly, the right to remove our entire fire company if he wants. And our entire fire company is not in support of either Richard Grady as chairperson of the trustees or of Jeremy Gilliam as the chief. The whole fire company. There's nobody in support of these two people, except Richard Grady has a couple older people that he's known for years. They come to every meeting, and yeah, they do. But if you want the other 25, 35 people that come to the meetings, signing into all these petitions for redress, and we'll remove them but the timing it's too long for us to have to go through the redress, which we're about to do now, and then to try and get the removal done as well with an election. It will be after this election and it will be next year. And the damage that these two people, Richard Grady, the other two board members as well, but this chief is going to be devastating. I mean, as chief, I understand every piece of equipment mattered back then. And one of the reasons Richard Grady was in trouble back then is because he would just come in and take the equipment and do stuff with it, leave it unprepared to be used again. Someone would come in an emergency and there it was with parts laying there and no one knew about it. He was involved with a big flood we had way back when, and he went off the deep end. He goes loopy. And I wouldn't normally say this in a public situation, but he has a mental illness problem. And that's obviously my opinion, but I've seen it for 27 years. And I know exactly what's going on. And this is dangerous. And I know that you don't have certain authority, and we're doing our best to move through the steps that are required to remove Richard Grady and the other two trustees, as well as Jeremy Gilliam, not allow him to further as chief. But what was just brought up by John Keller is that Jonathan Cunningham and his wife, those two people, along with others, but those two are incredibly trained, capable, and they go to everything. They get to the bird's eye responses before the bird's eye people do. That's what his joke was about. But point being, we're in danger out there. We live way out there. I live 30 miles away. And if these people aren't there to respond, and my husband, who's actually 86 years old now, has a problem, you know, we're not in the situation we were yesterday or 2 weeks ago. And these meetings that have been happening, I think 6 meetings that were non-scheduled meetings in 6 weeks. Who knew about them? They weren't properly noticed. People didn't know about them. The community didn't know. Nobody knows till now that all these things have happened, and everyone's in an uproar. But you know, it's just snuck in on us, and it was inappropriate. Some of these meetings were not legally noticed. The regular meeting that was noticed, well, actually, it wasn't legally noticed, but the regular meeting where people came expecting there to be a normal meeting, there was a large group of people. They were there for the meeting. Richard Grady came. Went to the other side of the building, posted a change that the meeting had been canceled because he hadn't noticed it properly, and that he was rescheduling. Didn't come to talk to anybody or even tell him what he had done. We're just standing there. I don't know, 25, 30 people. This is a group that normally has maybe 1 or 2 people come to a meeting if there's nothing going on or if Rick Grady's not involved. The board generally pays their bills, the firefighters do their job, and it's gone on like that for so many years. The only time we have this problem is when Mr. Grady and these 2 Eskilson's board members get involved and bring in someone like Jeremy Gilliam, who I've gotten 6 calls since this just happened, and I'm nobody, just people calling me that I don't even know saying, Connie, why is this community, what is happening with our fire department? How can Jeremy Gilliam be our chief? No one knew about it. Nobody wants him there. If you took the vote right today, I think your numbers would be extraordinarily against Mr. Gilliam being even represented as any kind of firefighter, much less as a chief of our community. So I apologize for a little bit of emotion there, but this is huge. It's dangerous. It's just happening. And we have very little ability to deal with it. It's not something that each community member can just, oh, let's hire an attorney and file litigation. And 6 months later, all our fire trucks, where are they? Have they sold them? They've already put 2 pieces of equipment up for sale. One that was up at Flesher Acres way at the end of the district and was being handled by the people up there. So when a fire came, it was right there for them to do it. Now they're putting all that equipment back down at the station, 12 miles away or whatever the distance is. And there's been some study by some of the firefighters of the response time that has changed for where the firefighters are located, where the trucks are located, and how that can achieve the best purpose. And Mr. Grady puts them all in one place, and the district is, 30, 40, whatever distance wide, it's a couple, 200, 300 square miles. It doesn't work, and it's dangerous. And fortunately, we've survived through this fire season to this point. But everything's really dry now. There was just a fire right on the side of the highway yesterday. And it's not going to change. And the amount of medical calls that these guys respond to is enormous. I mean, maybe not compared to Helena, but for us out there, and these guys go at all times of the day. So all these people that are on this fire department and trained and dedicated and go all times, sometimes they go to one and they come out home, get in bed, and they go to another one. And they're all volunteers. And this interim chief that was put in by Rick Grady in inappropriate meetings, or actually meetings that were not legally noticed, is he can remove every single one of them tomorrow. And he's already starting to do that. So that's why the emotion is so big here. And the years and years of this department, I think some of the people that have been there for families that have been there forever want to say to Mr. Grady, you need to stop. This has got to stop. So thank you very much, commissioners. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to my rant.
Thank you very much for your comment. Really appreciate it. No need to apologize for emotions. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Any other public? Okay. So we typically are not in public comment time. We do not do back and forth. We do not have a conversation like that. We listen. And if there are things that we can follow up on, we do. This is of high importance and community interest in that regard. So just a comment from me, and I'm assuming that the other commissioners agree that we all have interest in all of our fire districts and fire service areas functioning at a high level, and that their districts are run by folks that can work together well enough to get the job done and protect the community. And we're never going to have enough resources, obviously, to do everything on our own. That's why we have all these mutual aid agreements and those kinds of things. But I think we all want things to be functional and working. And so I have some real compassion around some of the comments I've heard in terms of wanting to be different, some sadness about it as well. And we've heard it before. So I would say, and I don't want to speak for the other commissioners, but I'll take a risk in saying that we likely will follow up as much as we can and study what is within our jurisdiction, where can we help, and learning about these processes, as has been said in the comments, that the redress process is not something that it's not something I'm familiar with. It hasn't been done before. I don't fully understand what options are there via the elections or legal world. And so I can tell you, as one commissioner, I will follow up and see where our authority lies and how we can assist in making things better. I think we've always had that take, but have been limited by, the elected body that is in Canyon Creek, and all of the other fire areas, and those elected bodies are elected by the citizens. And typically, as has been said, the citizens are the ones that are in control of changing that. Sometimes it's not in the time frame that we would like. But anyway, so specifically, I don't know at this point what we could, I don't know how to respond other than saying, I, as one commissioner, will follow up and try and understand best I can where we can help and where our jurisdiction is within this, and how we could intervene in a positive way to assist, whatever that means. So I'll leave it at that. Commissioners, I don't know if you have any comment further than that. Need anything? Please, Commissioner.
I am real concerned, and I talked to some of you on the phone about this. This is an elected position we're talking about. Rick Grady was elected by people. I don't imagine they're here today. They're not part of the group that does not get along with Rick Grady. And it causes me real heartburn to, I look at a lot of our elected officials, and I'm not talking about the fire department. I'm talking about, Congress and the president and all this. Well, there's a lot of people that don't like them, but they are the elected people, and we have to follow the law. And I'm hoping that our friends in the county attorney's office will give us all direction, particularly on this, the articles of redress. And are you familiar with that, County Attorney Nico? Have you looked at them? You know what we're talking about? Are we gonna, here's the other thing. We have to look out for the county. If we don't follow the law, we will get sued. We will get sucked into this, spending taxpayer money on another lawsuit. We need to avoid that if possible, which is why we have these guys sitting over here telling us, no, don't do that, don't do that. So, and I've spent quite a bit of time on this issue, talking to people and trying to figure out what we can do about it. And I've been around here long enough. I know Rick and Desire, and I don't think I've ever met Jeremy, but so we'll do the best we can, but we have to follow the law. And we probably are more cognizant of following the law than are the current chief of the Canyon Creek Fire Department. So we're not in a very comfortable position here. I feel your pain, but I'm not going to go to jail for you. Well, that's not an option, is it, Nico? Thank you.
Thanks. Anything else? Okay. Anything you want to add? Don't have to, but you're welcome to chime in.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, again, normally we don't do a back and forth of
Yes.
meetings, but because we have, I'll just take this moment to say what I believe the two trustees have put before you is submitting a redress. So that's a new statute that just came through the legislature. And so,
Ooh.
We're also looking at that and see what the processes are. So
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, commissioners, thank you. All right, last time for any further public comment. Any further public comment? Thank you all very much for being here, commissioners. Thank you for a good meeting. We will stand adjourned.